All right, so let's talk about Linux. There's something you really need to get about it right from the start. Yeah, it's an open source operating system, and sure, it runs on basically everything from your phone to these massive supercomputers. But the real story, the most important thing to know is that Linux powers this huge and honestly mostly hidden part of our digital world.
But to really get there, you've got to get inside the minds of the people who built it. These are folks for whom a sentence like this, well, it's a perfectly reasonable statement, it's a language that can seem a little, shall we say, quirky to outsiders.
And that, my friends, is Linux in a nutshell. It's got its quirks, for sure. But despite that, it has become one of the most reliable and widely used operating systems on the entire planet. So how on earth did that happen? Let's break it all down. First things first, you gotta get used to the lingo. It seems that Linux system administrators are just incredibly busy people because it looks like they've declared a full-on war against extra syllables. You can see this pattern everywhere. Distribution is way too long, so it just becomes a distro. A repository is a repo. Even the most basic commands suffer from this, vowel shortage. ls means list stuff, mv means move. And don't even get me started on directory names like /mnt for mount or /usr for Unix system resources. It's a whole language unto itself. So where did all this come from? Well, it started with one person, a guy named Linus Torvalds, way back in the early 1990s. His goal was to create an operating system that was Unix-like. That means it shared the core design ideas of the big, powerful Unix systems of that time, but, and this is the crucial part, with one huge difference. It would be completely free and open source for literally anyone to use, to study, and to make better. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why, but how does this thing actually work? Let's peel back the layers and take a look at the really elegant structure that makes Linux so incredibly powerful. You see, Linux is built in layers, and that's a huge key to its stability. It all starts with the physical hardware at the very center. Then, wrapped around that, you have the kernel. Think of the kernel as the master controller, the brain that talks directly to all that hardware. That's surrounded by system libraries, which are kind of like a shared toolbox for all the programs. And then finally, on the outside, you have the user space. That's where we live, running our apps and typing our commands. Each layer is separate, but they all work together perfectly. Now here's something that trips a lot of people up. You can't just go out and install Linux. It's not really a thing. What you actually install is a specific flavor of it, which everyone in the community calls a distro. So a distro is basically the whole package. It takes that core Linux kernel and bundles it up with all the system libraries, the utilities, the applications, everything you need to have a complete working system. Now, you could technically build one yourself from scratch, but trust me, most people save themselves the massive headache and just start with a pre-built distro. And because different people need different things, there are a ton of different distros. Let's just compare two of the big ones. You've got Ubuntu, which pushes out a new version every 6 months. That's awesome for developers who always want the latest and greatest software. Then you have something like Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or RHEL, where a major release is supported for a whole decade. It's all about stability and predictability, which is exactly why it's a top choice for supercritical systems in places like banking or healthcare. So at the end of the day, picking the right distro, whether it's Ubuntu, RHEL, maybe SUSE, Fedora, or one of the countless others, it really just boils down to matching its features to the risk profile of what you're trying to do. Do you need cutting-edge features, or do you need rock-solid, predictable stability? Okay, so how did this all come together in the real world? Well, it turns out this vowel-challenged, community-built operating system doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It quite literally runs the world. The question, where is Linux used, is, well, the better question is probably, where isn't it used? I mean, anywhere serious computing happens, you'll find it. From the websites you visit every day, to the cloud infrastructure that powers them, from software development pipelines to tiny smart devices, and all the way up to the most powerful computers on the face of the earth. Let's just start with the cloud. Get this, an incredible 90% of all cloud workloads run on Linux. Now, why is that? Well, it's pretty simple. Its lightweight footprint means you can cram more virtual machines onto a physical server. And its powerful remote management is absolutely perfect for these headless servers that are managed entirely over a network. Okay, if you thought that was impressive, this next number it's just staggering. 100%. Every single one of the world's top 500 fastest supercomputers runs on Linux. And the reason is clear. When you need to squeeze out every last drop of performance, researchers turn to Linux because they can actually modify the kernel and system software to fit their exact specific needs. And this incredible adaptability, it extends everywhere. In the world of DevOps, its powerful command line tools are what make things like automation and container orchestration with Kubernetes even possible. And then you have the Internet of Things, or IoT. Its modularity is everything. You can strip out all the parts you don't need to create a tiny, minimal system that can run in something like a smart thermometer with barely any memory. So when you boil it all down, this is why Linux has just quietly taken over the digital world. It's open source, so anyone and everyone can contribute. It's adaptable to nearly any workload you can dream up, from the tiniest sensor to the biggest supercomputer. And it is absolutely ruthlessly efficient. And this really leaves us with a fascinating question to think about. This entire global ecosystem, it wasn't built by a single company in some secret boardroom. It was built out in the open by a worldwide community of collaborators. So what does its quiet, almost complete dominance really tell us about the incredible, world-changing power of working together?